I'll just be brief in telling you that I completely agree. The problem is there's no accountability, the dollars don't follow the children. But I want to just tell you a quick story about the ugly side of a charter school. In the District 3 area, one of our builders promised a school to a community. The community didn't get the school, and so they got together and they opened up a charter school. Now what this board did, which is important that we keep on doing, is that when we looked at their application, we saw that they were limiting the radius of the students that they were going to accept. And I, as the board member in that area, said, absolutely not. You're not taking public dollars to create a private school because you don't want your children going to school with the other children. That's unacceptable. Now, the school opened with open boundaries, and we're in a new landscape. And they had some issues with some of their programs in our district, and our local high school is helping them with it, because you know what? These are all our babies, and they all deserve the best possible education. And I will tell you that my 3 nieces graduated from South Tech Academy, which is a charter school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charter schools clearly have a role in innovation, in serving students who are missing out in the traditional schools in a particular niche area. I'm all for parents having choice. I want a choice for my kids. What I'm more concerned about than choice, though, is outcomes. And I, would hope that parents are looking at outcomes as much as they are about the initial choice, making sure that their kids are in fact likely or actually getting a better education in a charter school than in the traditional schools. As people have said, I don't think that's always the case. And I agree with what everybody has said, that charter schools should be just as accountable for their use of public dollars as the traditional schools. Thanks.
Thank you.
I agree with a lot of what the other candidates up here have said, so I'm going to tell you a quick story instead. I live in Lake Worth. I live on the far east side of Lake Worth, and when I decided to, after I had my daughter, we decided that we were going to move because we wanted a bigger house. We said a 2-bedroom, and we were looking for a place to move in the community. And a lot of people thought, when you live in Lake Worth on the east side, that when it's time to have your children go to school, you want to take them to a better school system. You want to move. You want to go to Palm Beach Gardens and Wellington and Boca. And I didn't want to move. I loved where I lived because I believe in my community. I love living there, and I don't think anyone should have to move. The issue that we're having with charters is they are taking students away from our schools, from our elementary schools, from our middle schools, from our high schools. And what that's going to do is it's going to close our local schools, which means people who live in neighborhoods where they are getting a chance to go to school with their neighbors, those schools may close down, and if those schools close down, then none of those families will see each other because they are going to be in different places all over the county where you move them. I think the most important thing that we need to do is keep our communities together, and though there is a place for charters, I think this is something we need to keep in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that most people are in agreement that the vast majority of charter schools underperform our public schools. The vast majority of charter schools do not offer innovative or new methods of teaching. So as was stated, the original mandate of the charter was to provide innovative education, to provide opportunities that did not exist in our public schools. And it's kind of like the well has been poisoned. There are too many charter schools that exist for no reason whatsoever. And the problem is that we need to take a stand as Palm Beach County, and I know certain board members have already made this clear. We need to take a stand and say no more because the accountability is just not there. If you follow the news, everyone has stories that we've seen. One of the charter schools in Palm Beach County, Maverick Charter School, one of their locations as a mega charter corporation, they were just letting kids leave one period less than they were supposed to be teaching them and not giving them any education during that extra period, and they were pocketing the money. My concern is, and it's a fundamental question about how you think your tax dollars should be spent on education. Should 100% of the tax dollars that you pay to education go towards education? And my concern is that many charter schools, they take profit, so when you pay $1 to education to go to a charter school, you might see 20 or 25 cents of that dollar go towards someone's profit and then making a living off of that. I disagree with that fundamentally.
Thank you. And I was educated in the public schools, and I believe in public schools.
And I think when we started the charter movement, it did serve a purpose because they were servicing a niche that the public schools were not servicing. But now it's gone to big business. And we have to start with the legislature. When we say that we're going to do something about it, I think this school board, many of us, have been making a difference in meeting with our legislative delegation and talking about the accountability issues. The issues that are really distracting us from being able to perform at the public level because of the loss of dollars. So it starts a lot in Tallahassee to stop it. A lot has to do with the statutes. The consultants, the lobbyists are there for charter schools making it happen. So we've got to fight from the state level to get many of these laws changed. But one thing I must say, at District 6, I visit every school in District 6, including the charter schools, because I'm responsible for all of those students. And I recognize things aren't always right at the charter schools, but as a school board member, I'm going to visit the students and work with them. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Dr. Emma Banks. I'm the principal here at Inlet Grove Community High School, which is a conversion charter school. I have been in education over 40 years. I taught with the district. I work for the State Department of Education. But I want to pose this question to the young lady by Mr. Henry. You, yes, I don't know your name, so excuse me. You made a statement that your tax dollars are going to charter schools. What about my tax dollars that are going to public school? Okay.
It's the tax dollar. My tax dollars are going to the charter schools that have no purpose, the for-profit charter schools. I am a huge component and a huge love of our charter schools that actually have a purpose. I was here at your own school at the end of the school year at a meeting. I'm in a lot of our charter schools that have a purpose at IEP meetings and at EP meetings. So it's not your charter school versus someone else's charter schools. The charter schools work with, they have a purpose.
And I like the charter schools with a purpose, but I'm going to work with every parent in every community in District 6, whether their children go to the public school or the charter school. I've got to do it because I owe that to them, because I am out there servicing all children. We've got to get the legislature to do what's right. We've got to get the governor, whoever our governor is going to be, our current governor or our future governor, to start looking at making the accountability fair for everybody. Once we get the accountability in place, then we won't have a lot of the problems we're having right now. But I refuse not to take care of every child in every school, within the whole school district, but especially the ones that I really work with in District 6.
Thank you.
I'm pretty passionate about this subject, so I'm glad I get to continue to speak on it a little bit. I just wanted to throw in that I believe that charters have really given us an opportunity to compete, because I think that the school district needs to start marketing when we do something good. We have an excellent education system. Our public schools are wonderful, and they have some of the most amazing choice programs out there, but we don't always let people know when we have them. And I think charters have shown us that if you have a program that children would like to attend and we're not serving it, then they should go to a charter. They should go to a charter when a charter is providing something that we are not providing. I've seen a lot of good charter programs as well, and I think that what we are learning from this experience with the charters is that if as a school district we would like to continue to have public schools and not only charter choice and private schools, we need to find a better way to market ourselves and provide things that students and parents are looking for.
Thank you, and Dr. Banks, I thank you for all that you do. Your school and South Tech, I lost my mind for a minute, are both our conversion charter schools, and we are so proud of you. Not every charter school operates the way you do. When a complaint comes in, you jump on it. You take care of your children. You made sure the nursing students got in those hours that they needed to get their licenses this year. Anyone that's ever called about any school, we know when we send them back to you, they're taken care of. As a board, what we try to do with our legislators is to make sure that accountability is there for the other schools, for the schools that are opening by some of the for-profit entities that don't fulfill a niche. But, you know, many of us have been, I have not been to your graduation, but many of us have been there, and you know that we support your school tremendously. I spent a lot of time down at South Tech, and so when we say that we oppose it, we're opposing those schools that are giving your school a bad name. But you are part of our wonderful school system, and we love you. Thank you.
To answer your question more from a political philosophy standpoint is, I see sort of two models. There's a libertarian model that says we shouldn't tax, we should have no public schools, and only those that can afford to send their kids to school will pay, and maybe some can, kind of like the healthcare model before the Affordable Health Act. And then there's the other model, which I would agree with, which is that, we believe that education is a fundamental right, and we tax people, and, no taxation without representation. So we have school boards and elected, you guys vote, and you can show up to school board meetings, and we set policy, and all these things are great. The problem is when you start taking public money and you allocate it to privately run schools that are outside of sort of the authority of the school board, the teachers' unions, and things like that, you're sort of not participating, you're taking public funds and pulling it out of the democratic process. And that's my issue. I don't like this hybrid model. Either you don't tax anybody and people can send their kids wherever they want if they can afford it, or you have the public system. Now, if you still don't like the public system, you have the option to send your kids to private schools if you can afford to do that. So those things work, but I think it's important to have the public education system and have it universal, all under the control of the board and the teachers' unions, because then you can have a standard model of this is the math you have to know. Like she was saying earlier about not teaching science over Thanksgiving. That wouldn't happen at the non-charter school. So it gets back to the Boca Police Allied Barton analogy I made earlier. It's one or the other, but not both.
I'd like to answer your question simply and directly. You should get tax dollars. You should get the tax dollars for your charter school. Now, the issue that I would have with the current board is that they like to say that this is an issue for the legislature. Now, what that means is when the charters come up, they'll pass them because they say that there's no real reason, even if they say no to the charters, that they'll just go to the legislator and the legislator will approve them. My policy in the school board would be to examine every charter that comes through that applies for a charter, and if it's not good, we say no. We don't pass it to the legislator, we deal with it right now. So that's my answer.
I understand what each of you are saying, but my concern is when you address charter schools, I would prefer for you to say some charter schools, as well as you say some public schools, because they are all our children. All of you sitting there, you never know when something might happen, or you want your child, or your child might come and ask you, I would like to go to a charter school. So are you going to say they're bad schools, or they're good schools? Now, my second question is, you mentioned about accountability. I've been in education for over 40 years, as I said. I have to submit to the district my financial statements, everything that the school district requires. I've never had a deficiency in any of those areas. So when you say accountability, I have to fill out an accountability report and send to the State Department of Education. I have to do that every year. So we go through mid-year evaluation twice a year. So now if the district is spending money to send 20 or 21 or 25 people to our school to investigate and to look over our books, to look over that we are serving ESE students, that we are going through transportation and all of this. So if you all are spending money, and I'm saying using that as a generic, money for people to come out and investigate to see that this is happening, and then they turn their reports back into you, that should be a red flag to you to say, well, this school is not performing at their level.